And the recording has started. Does the clerk have, it looks like everybody's present.
Yes.
And we also have a visitor, Deborah, from the Housing Authority. Okay. Has everybody received the minutes from the last meeting and has read them? If so, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve minutes.
Greg is...
March.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Is there any public here? No public. Communication from city officials. Jamie, do you have anything to tell us beyond what's on the agenda here? We have the account balances and everything on the minutes.
So the account balances have changed because last night the city council approved the lighting request for the Whitebrook Middle School field lighting project, and that was then signed by the mayor this morning. So the new account balances are $0 in open space set aside, $60,000 in historic preservation, $161,812 in affordable housing, $615,000 in the undesignated, and $141,000 in the reserve fund. So the grand total now is $978,191.
That's because we spent $185,000. I tried to move that quickly through the finance committee so that they might be able to get done by the fall. And there was no opposition. It was approved unanimously by the council. We spent our first money of the year.
In the paper this morning, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing. Okay, moving on. Annual CPA meeting and preservation plan. What is that?
So the state law requires that every year the CPA have a meeting. We have 12 meetings a year, but under the state law you have to have it publicly advertised, and it's called the annual meeting. So every year we have an annual meeting. It doesn't actually end up resulting in that many more people.
So an annual meeting, that's one of our regular meetings, but it's advertised in the paper or something?
Yeah, and
It's
so
open to the public.
It's open. I mean, they're all
Well,
open.
all our
No,
meetings
but
are-
I'm saying, but it's advertised for the public to come.
I got you.
Some CPAs function differently and don't have regular meetings. They may only meet once a year to, make their funding recommendations, or might meet twice a year. But their law says that they have to do it. At least each CPA has to do it.
And what's a preservation plan?
Preservation plan is also required.
Do we have one?
We do. It's available on the website. I have
All right.
last year's,
Okay.
pass it around, take a look at it.
Is this something that needs to be updated?
It does need to be updated.
How do we go about that?
It's something that I work on. Committee members generally provide feedback if there's any changes to it,
So you're going to provide us with well, this is 215, so we're going to do a 216 preservation plan that you're going to put together for us to review and
Yeah, so
approve, edit, whatever?
Yeah, and so this will be the starting point, and basically go through and provide a red-line version if there's any comments or...
So this says August 20th, so I'm assuming our annual meeting and preservation plan can be in August? Is that typical?
Last year it was in June.
Is it because it needs to be before the new fiscal year?
No, it's just a once-a-year type thing, and the law is vague as to whether or not that's a calendar year or a fiscal year.
So you, process-wise, you present to us your revised version of the preservation plan, and we need to approve it after we've read it, analyzed it, maybe edited it.
Right, and so in the past, we've presented draft versions for public comment and invite public to comment on it at that annual meeting, and then it gets finalized a few meetings after.
Is June giving you enough time to do this work?
Well,
I mean, to
June
give
would-
us the draft plan.
Right, so June would be enough time. There was discussion last year, because of the fundings, the way the funding cycles happen, the June meeting was the beginning of
This
a
is
new,
2017.
a new cycle.
Mhm.
And there was some conversation that maybe it makes sense to hold the annual meeting at the end of the cycle, which would either be put it at May or August.
Well, it's the committee's pleasure. Those of you who have been on the committee, what works for this? I want to make sure she has significant
Yeah,
enough
that's all.
time
So
to get it.
What are you more comfortable with? Any better for you, or?
I think August makes more sense
Okay.
considering that it's already April, and it's hard to have something that would be significant for May.
But you're updating a plan
Yeah,
based on what has been done since this plan was.
yeah, and it
What has been
the-
approved
Yeah, I mean,
and-
so there's not a lot of changes to it.
Okay.
The bulk of it is the project, the funded projects at the end of it, and we, in the past, we've solicited from different organizations what they would like to see funded, what projects they might submit in the coming year, so that we give the committee some.
Is that something you do prior to your draft proposal, send out, well, request for comment?
Yeah, so they have, you know, the school department, the Conservation Commission.
Recreation, everybody.
Recreation, and so in order to give all the committees enough time
To respond.
to respond, it would be good, I think, to hold a meeting in August. But
So you present this in August, we look it over, we need to pass it in either September or October. We pass approval of the preservation plan. Maybe in September, coming back with comments and editing, is that, I'm just asking what the.
Yeah, I mean, or we
process.
can do it for May and leave the comment period open, we can have the meeting in May and leave the comment period open a little bit longer, and we'll have a draft version.
Remind me, do we need to have an approved preservation plan for the annual meeting?
No.
So the one that we present typically at the annual meeting is a draft copy of the preservation plan.
Right. And because we are soliciting feedback based off of.
Public feedback.
Yeah, I mean, we can say, here's the 2015 plan, please let us know if there's any comments, changes, things
Okay.
like that,
I'm-
and we'll incorporate that into.
I'm confused, you said May. I thought you needed more time to prepare a draft plan.
They're separate. They don't necessarily have to be
So the
the
annual-
final draft, the final version for the meeting. In the past, we've done it we've tried to do it that way, but there's no requirement.
So if we have our annual meeting in May, we're gonna hand out, tell me if I'm wrong, we're gonna hand out the 215 plan and ask for comment, public comment from all the committees, so that you can put together a draft plan that, for 16, that we would review in August? Is that what
Well,
we're saying?
It would, yeah, or June or July, so it probably, maybe would tie into the fiscal year, and we would go with
Okay.
July to.
Whatever works for your schedule, Jamie, I don't.
What if we have a somewhat final copy that we present at the annual meeting and do that in August? Give time for discussion, you know, you
Yeah.
pull.
I mean, this is
you
available on the
email-
website, so all the
Yeah.
committees and public can look at it.
And
It's
it's
not
been
like
up
you have to
there.
hand them a hard copy.
And it's been up there since it was approved last year.
I like August, and then Jamie, if you just announce that our annual meeting is in August, and get all the people that you normally request for comment. Okay. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Perfect.
Okay.
I think, I don't need it, do you want this?
Yeah, just keep it in the planning department. If anyone else wants to look at it, if you haven't seen it.
It's on the website,
It's
right?
also on the website.
So you'll solicit comment in the next couple of months from all these different
Yeah, so I'm
organizations
gonna
and so
start
forth.
by coming up with a red line version of where I think the changes are. I'll bring that to committee for,
Okay.
approval for, or, you know, for your comments in May, and then.
Will the red line version include input from those other stakeholders, or?
They may not get.
No, I think
Probably,
she's-
probably not. And generally, what they want, the other stakeholders have really only commented on is their priority project list that's included at the end.
Sure, yeah.
Of the plan.
And your red line version is what's been done since this meeting, if you're including all the information, since that one was presented.
Yeah, I mean, and so there'll be new projects that are added to it if there are changes in assessments of open, let's say for open space where we've had new land acquisitions, and maybe that changes what what the city's priorities are for protection, or if housing, the housing has changed significantly, maybe the affordable housing pieces will minor
Change.
tweaks.
Okay. All right, so you'll give us a red line version by May, and then in August, we'll have an annual meeting where we might have a final version or close to final version. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I just wanted to get it on the agenda so we can start to plan forward and.
So May, a draft, and then in August, our August meeting will be the annual meeting. Okay,
Sounds good.
sounds good. Hearings. Jamie sent us, just to update you, a copy of what looks like an updated the rail trail. People sent us a lot of information.
So
It
what
includes-
looks like an engineering quote from 3 different people for the engineering portion?
It looks like what I may have missed at the last meeting was their request is for the engineering side
Okay.
of this particular project. In other words, the 86,000 they show on table 1 estimated cost. No, it is construction.
I think it was construction.
So they
That
sent.
seems low to me,
I
but
just thought it was low.
They sent two different things. The first email they sent me on March 25th
Mhm.
was the one that looks like this, that has a time, it starts the timeline, and then it's a budget.
Mhm.
And so that was no different than what they had submitted as part of their request.
Mhm.
And then on April 7th, I got the thing that looks like this, that had the re-engineering firm
This one? Yeah,
for design.
and that's all design, it's not,
That's what the engineers would charge to manage the project from design through construction, but that does not include any of the construction costs. or
so
the-
even the cheapest one is 35,000 from Duche,
Mhm.
and that would mean,
It looks like you have 25,000.
Yeah, they had budgeted 25 for engineering.
And all of these, costs come in above that significantly.
I think they need to come back to us, well, they're not here, so they need to come back to us what the budget and what their final request is, because I don't think 18 is gonna cut it.
Have they even submitted an application formally?
Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is the application, but they asked for 18,000, and I think this was premature, the application, I think. But anyway, they're not here to update us, so we'll keep that on the back burner. We have a very well presented presentation from the East Hampton Housing Authority, including a request from the fire chief to support it. So I would like to turn the floor over to Deborah, Executive Director, to tell us all about it. And I want to thank you for providing us with as much information as we could possibly ask for.
Thank you. I have a new maintenance director. He worked on it with me, so he just did some credit. I've been there for 16 months, and in that time, there's been 3 stove fires, 2 in the family units and 1 in the elderly unit. I'm talking to the fire chief. He said, I guess years ago on Everett Street, Sullivan Housing, there was a big fire there, and he suggested that be done, these suppressors be put in, and nobody's done it, whether it be there or in the housing because of the funding. So we looked into it and found out the cost. We gave them 3 different costs that it would be, went with the lowest. These are good for 5 years, so in 5 years, if you approve this, we may be back. But what it is it's 2 canisters, which for as simple as they are, and why they cost so much money is beyond me, but that's what it is. They're these 2 little canisters that hook onto the hood above the stove, and any kind of heat or anything makes it explode and puts out the fire. on the stove. It's like a baking soda I hear, the white powder, and it just puts it out. And we wanna put one in every unit. The
Now,
housing authority has 188 units.
The Housing Authority, pretty much affordable housing.
Yes.
That's why this qualifies. I asked this being very naive about this, so I want to make sure I understand.
What?
Because affordable housing makes it qualify for CPA grant funding.
Right.
Okay, that sounds great.
What are the income limits on these units?
I didn't bring that with me.
Are they all less than 100% of, I think that's the requirement of the statute, is that right, Jamie? It's like less than 100% of area median
I
income.
think it's up to 75%.
I didn't know I would need that, sorry.
I know.
So
Well, we don't even know what the requirement is, so even if you knew. wouldn't
No, I
necessarily-
just off the
You're
top
talking
of
about
my
the
head.
people's income limits to live there?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's
In order
like
for you to
one
be
person is a
defined-
maximum, yeah, and they have to meet that income limit.
They're all
in order to
lower
be there.
income.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
low,
Yeah.
very low. We have, I mean, the average rent is $300.
I guess that would be called affordable
Yeah,
housing.
it's, the elderly, it's 30% of their gross income, and family units, it's 27% of their gross income that they pay towards rent.
It's just in the Housing Authority's only location, 112 Oil Street?
No, 112 is our office,
Okay.
where we're located. The areas would be Cliffview Manor, which is off of Allen, Sunrise Manor, which is off of Clark, Dickinson Court, which is off of Liberty Street, Glad Acres, which is John, Sunset, Eli, and South. And then there's 2 units inside where our office is, and then we have we have 2 duplexes that have 4 units in them. Arlington Street has 1 duplex, and Pleasant Street has 1 duplex.
It's very informative. I didn't know we have that much
I
housing.
remembered it all.
How many,
Yeah.
how many units is it?
Total 188.
And those are all
188
fully
units.
owned by the city,
They're all, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's great. And how many of these suppressors are you asking for?
Well, you need to put 2 in each unit,
You're talking 188 times 2?
times 2.
So we don't have any anywhere right now?
No, none, they're not being used at all.
And the 38
And I know, I come
oh.
from private housing, and one of the big management
could've read the
companies
doc.
I worked for was Wind Management, and they required it in all their units.
Hmm.
So, once we put them in too, the residents are gonna have to sign off that they've been put in and they're not to tamper with it. And it'll be yet another thing they have to sign upon moving, that they can't remove it or tamper with it. Same thing like smoke detectors and carbon monoxide, they sign off on that. And we do inspections every year, for an annual inspection, so we do check on that.
Are there consequences if they do?
Well, we tell them they can't do it. If you continue to do it again, we'll go to court to enforce the lease. And usually that's enough that they do it.
Since,
I know.
this is one of my blind spots, is the
Yeah.
housing piece, and I'm a volunteer as the
Mhm.
volunteer committee. So it was very helpful for you to kind of go through the holdings, I mean, because I honestly had no idea what, so this is what the city owns. How do units get acquired? Can you just give me like a little process, or?
They were acquired, throughout the years, most of them were built for housing. My understanding is we call it Glad Acres, which is there's 39 family units. They're 2 and 3 bedroom units. And I could be wrong, Ed might know more than me, I'm new to it, so anything I've read, but, someone was losing them, like, could not keep them, the builder, I think, couldn't keep them, and so they came in and bought.
I'm not familiar with.
Okay, that was my understanding, they were bought by someone that was losing them, they were built like, FHA homes or something.
Yep.
And it was converted, and that is veterans housing. So if you are a veteran, you go to the top of the list no matter what. But that is for veterans, so even if you move in, as a veteran with a husband or wife and a family, if the veteran dies or moves away, whatever, you cannot move that person out. If that, like we had someone, she's elderly, she's been there forever, and she's in a 3-bedroom unit, and I'm like, well, you're by yourself, you wanna come over to a 1-bedroom, because our wait list on the family units is like 5 years long, being only 39, but you can never move them. And I was surprised, because I grew up in Hoyoke, I lived in Hoyoke Projects, housing. And when I came over, these are capes. They're single-family houses with driveways, yards, basements. You know, so it's, people usually stay.
You don't know how the city acquired them over the years? I think it's
I think that one was because he was losing it, but.
tax title and things like
Yes,
that.
but Cliffview, Sunrise, and Dickinson were all built with funds. And then I think the ones over on Pleasant and Arlington, I
Mhm.
think they might have been donated or something, because they are in really, really bad shape. They're really, really old. I'd say probably our most depressed property, but upon turnover, we've had 2 since I've been there, and they look 100% better. But some of that had to do with residents that lived there.
So when you say in bad shape, they've been renovated since then, or they're
Yeah.
still needing renovation?
Yeah, so when they took them, I think they were really poor,
Okay.
and they were brought up to code.
Okay. Very enlightening.
Are there, just to double check, there's no plan, when you're talking about ones that are in poor shape, we're not ripping out fire hoods in half the units in the next couple of years or something like
Oh,
that?
no, no.
You know what I mean, where we'd have
They're
to
all
re.
up to date, yeah, no, they're fine the way they are. It's just, someone told me that the one on Pleasant Street is like the oldest house in East Hampton.
It looks like.
I mean, the floors are like this,
Hmm.
but, you know, it is what it is. Those have 4 bedrooms in them.
Well, considering I left the oven on the other night, I'm not a senior citizen. Supposedly, I see this as a very valuable thing to have. I like that you've gotten a number of different quotations. One was for $9,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming the chief has been with you on this, telling you that Louisville Fire Safety is a good company? I mean,
We
you're
showed
getting,
him what we had, and he said basically they're all the same, and he agreed with me that they are really.
reputable companies.
Well, that they're, it's a lot of money for what it is. If you can see these little canisters, but we showed him what we had, and he said they all work the same way.
Yeah, I like this range hood, fireman in a can. So, does the company Louisville Fire and Safety, I'm assuming you're quoting them in your application, do they install them all too?
No, we would be installing them. Our maintenance staff would install them. They're
And
very easy to install.
very easy to install,
They're just like
so-
magnets that go on the vent hood.
Okay. So if one goes off, you'd have to replace it.
Yes.
Do you have them, since you had 3 fires in 3 months, do you happen to have the budget for that?
We didn't think of that.
You're
Okay,
asking for
well,
200.
Not so great of a report.
I'm
I
gonna-
forgot to have some on hand.
I don't know what the precedence is for the committee, but I'd like to up this so that they could have some extras on
Well,
hand.
the
What
quote
do
is
you
for
guys-
200 units, and you need 189, so there are some extras.
188.
Is that what this quote is for 200?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the second page, so.
Oh,
No, so
So
they're
there
all-
are some extras, I
sorry.
don't know if it's enough.
this, oh yeah, that's right, there's 200.
Yeah, so that should cover it. 188, well, that's
No,
not
it says
much.
quantity 200, is that?
Pairs.
for-
Pairs. It
Pairs,
says
right?
pairs.
Is there pairs someplace written down?
Yeah, it says Paris.
They come in,
I'm looking at the Louisville Fire one.
In the description.
Oh, pairs, yeah, okay, sorry.
And that one says 6-year effective life. Another one said 5, so I don't know.
So you're okay, because there's 200
Yeah.
quoted, they'll give you some
80,
extras.
82, yeah.
Nonetheless, I have no problem rounding that up to 8,000. Everybody else is.
I have no problem either. It's one of the
Nice.
primary
Nice even
goals
number.
of the CPA is affordable housing and maintaining it, as well as, I encourage you to come to us if you need maintenance, if you need fire suppression. Seriously, that's what we're here
No, Jamie has
for.
talked to me, and because I've asked her, because I'm new, and I didn't have anyone to train me. I've come in and talked to Jamie, she's been so helpful.
She's helpful
But-
to everybody.
But there's been a lot that I've had to catch up on, because I've only been there a short time.
Okay.
So we've got a good staff now, we're going forward, so we're able to look at some of these issues, because there are things that we need, and that would be helpful to the residents. But
And,
it's
let me ask you this,
together.
is it primarily seniors that are living there, or is it a vast range of ages?
Well,
And most of our
only
housing-
39 units are family. Wait, 39, wait a minute, 39, 41, 43 are family units.
Okay.
And 188, the difference between that is elderly and handicapped, but I would say elderly makes up 95, at least 90% of that,
Of the family unit?
of the, what's the difference between 188 and the?
145.
Yeah.
Okay, so 145 units are 90% elderly.
Yeah, and then the rest are handicapped or disabled.
I encourage you.
I do, I have a
Encourage you to
project
look at
that
the
I'd like to
safety.
get together with ramps, because I talked to Jamie about this. We are being bombarded with people wanting ramps for the elderly, and it's extremely costly.
Are these houses ADA compliant right now?
No, we have no handicap units except for 2 at Dickinson Court over on Liberty Street.
You're not required to do that?
We can't, they come out, there's nothing we can do to make them.
Unless you have a certain amount of renovation. If
Yes,
you
then
renovate the
have
whole
to do
house,
it.
then you have to
Yes,
make it ADA
yes.
compliant.
And there's not even enough room in there. We've had a study done last year, they came through to see if they could do that, but you would have to take 2 units and you're losing housing that way.
You have a board, right? The
Mhm.
Housing Authority Board, Jackie
Mhm.
Rousseau's on it, and is that the same
No.
board? Am I looking at the wrong?
Nancy
That's the
Flavin,
housing
Betty
partnership.
Berman.
That's the Housing Partnership, so, okay.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
separate. But things like that, it's just a matter of getting it put together and getting it to you if it's a big project. But there are a few things that we've been working on.
Well,
and
I
really want to
encourage
get
you,
this one over here quick.
If you come with this kind of information for any project, I think the committee members will be very pleased.
Thank you, that's how I work.
All right. Members, do you have any
I'll
questions?
vouch for her. She does look good.
Well, the proof is in the pudding right here. So. Guys, I don't know, I don't have any questions, and I see this as a serious matter. I'd vote for yes tonight. I don't know what our procedures are. Harry?
I thought we approved that, didn't we approve a ramp, one more places?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, right before you started, you took it over, once you started, but it was in the community room. It was a ramp and a bathroom.
You still need pictures of the bathroom, sorry.
I mean, I think we have some, but.
I remember that, going for council.
Yeah.
I came
So we
in
have a
as
ramp
well.
one place, okay.
Yeah.
Just as a point of information, I do think like legally, that reasonable, I think the term is reasonable accommodation is needed. So if someone needed to, like if they're applying for rental and they were next on the list and then they needed that, like it would be legally
You
bound to.
can't, if it's financially and structurally impossible to do it, you can't do it.
I'm only speaking that, my wife actually is like a fair housing attorney, and I know this is like things that she talks about, so I don't know exactly the ins and outs.
I've been doing it for
you know what I mean?
37
Like,
years,
but I
so-
just, yeah, like I have no, like, but I know that that's something she deals with all the time, like where it's.
Yeah.
it- yeah.
Reasonable means reasonable that it can be done.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and something like that for someone to want it to be made handicapped, there's no way to be able to do that to these units. They're, the whole
have to start
apartment's from
over.
here to here.
Right,
I mean,
right.
They're, might not even be this long. That's
Right.
how small they are.
Okay.
That's why we're getting a lot of people that are using wheelchairs and they want ramps. And what happens is when you, Mr. Jones, over here gets one, and Mrs. Smith is like, well, I could use one too.
Right.
And there's a whole form that we have to do for a reasonable accommodation. They have to ask for it. We have a form they fill out, we send it to the doctor. 110% of the time, the doctor will always say, yes, it's needed.
Sure.
So then we have to accommodate that, and what's been costing us, and I'm just saying, this is between $3,000 and $6,000 a ramp for residents, and we're getting them all the time. And it gives them more accessibility to these units rather than going to a nursing home. But they are very costly.
And if you get that request, where do you get the money? You can come to us, but I mean, that takes a month or two.
I know, we've
So-
been really draining. We've been
Okay.
paying for it.
All right.
And I see it happening more, that's why I had talked to Jamie at one time. I didn't know if I could put it together as a package, as a pool of money, and as we do them, then we could take down the money from whatever's pooled to us, not give us the amount, just approve it as it comes in. That's all stuff I have to put together, but that was one of the thoughts that I had.
So we have in place, members, a new project worksheet, which we require of all projects. So we should put that together for this so that we could pass it at the next meeting. Or Is that typical? I mean, I'm asking everybody who's been on this, I think we want to maintain, even in a project that is quite obviously well thought out and something we need to do, we still need to do the kind of contract that we did for the football lighting. I thought that was excellent, and I think we should do the same thing, right?
When we, in the past, the committee has done the grant funding agreements
Mhm.
with agencies that are separate from the city. Well, within the city, we had nothing. So the project funding worksheet that we did with football was
Was for the
for city, starting new with city agencies. But the past, with Brickyard Brook had the grant agreement that, it's a 10-page agreement that goes into a lot more detail about.
Really?
Yes. And I believe that the housing authority was, there was one that was signed by the mayor and the former director for the ramp and the bathrooms.
So are you saying that covers all grants that,
No, I mean, so that would cover that grant, so.
so we have to put together something similar to that?
Yes, or no, it's up to the committee, but there was that precedent. There's sort of two different paths.
I thought the project worksheet was a boilerplate for all of our projects, wasn't it?
That's
Did
what I
we,
thought.
did you have that impression, guys? I don't.
I think it makes sense to stay the course with that, even if it's, you know.
Even if there's
city-
only a
city
few bullet
agency.
points on it, I
Right.
mean, I think we should do just that. We don't need this big 10-page worksheet, do we? I mean, if we don't legally need to do that. The project worksheet, as far as I'm concerned, the one we did for the football, every project, same way. That's
And then-
my.
Yes, yes, and after that gets funded by the mayor, then, or after the city council votes on
Mhm.
the project, the grant funding work, the grant agreement is actually signed by both parties, which would go into more detail than what is just in that.
Right, and that's between the city of East Hampton and the grantee.
That sounds
Not
like a-
between, yeah, it's not conditions that the CPA committee is putting on the grantee as it. yeah.
Right, but if there were things that we wanted to add to that. So I'll send out, for the next meeting, I will send out a copy of both the draft,
Right.
sort of template for the grant agreement and the funding request. We can figure out what that's gonna
Well,
look
the
like.
grant agreement is not something that we need to put together. If we just do the project funding worksheet, isn't that sufficient? And then the city wants to do a grant, whatever that document is, they want to do that, fine, if they feel it's legally required.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know,
Okay.
people have been around, does that make sense? The project worksheet, which could be very simple in this case, whatever you feel should be in there,
Having a consistent one pager, I think, is.
That's
you know,
consistent, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's your sort of summary
Right,
coming
I
out of
like
the
it.
CPA committee. That said, I'm not that, as a committee, I don't think we see that much of the grant agreements. Once the approval was made in this committee, I don't really know a lot of the paperwork that happens, with these grant agreements. So I would be curious to see what has traditionally been done. And so feel free to send that out next.
But the project worksheet for me is about dates, updates, and deadlines of when this project will be completed, so that we don't have minutes that say about a project that's been approved in 2005 that still has money in the bank. And I thought the idea of this was to give us the updates and the kind of structure that we know by such and such a date, you would be required, Deborah, to report back to us, we've got them all installed, here's a picture, done. And if anybody should ask you how they were paid for, one of the things the committee would like is a little advertisement that the CPA is funding a lot of this stuff.
I could do a press release after it's done.
As soon as you get approval, thank you, that's important, because
Mhm.
I think the more the city knows what their money's being used for, the better. But that's just one of the things that was in that worksheet, and I like that.
I think we need to do that, because for one thing, we don't want to put ourselves in the position of having to explain to somebody else that we're requiring it from why we didn't require it
Oh,
from somebody else.
we have to require it.
We have to be consistent.
And I believe if there's a leak, if there's a grant funding worksheet or grant funding paperwork that was done prior to this for outside agencies, that sounds like something the city is required to do, but I'm not knowledgeable about that. I'd like to find out, is it required? Because all we need is that, the motion we made the last time at the CPA as stated in the project funding worksheet.
We also need to make sure that our worksheet is getting incorporated into the ultimate grant agreement between the city and the grantee.
The motion that I made last night indicated that that would be part of the approval, that the CPA's worksheet would be part of it. And it's in the minutes.
Yeah.
It's in our minutes, and it's in the minutes of the council approval, so.
Since it sounds like this isn't gonna be approved until next meeting, maybe in the meantime, you could send Jamie the list of the income limits for the residents in these units. It doesn't sound like it's gonna be a problem, but just so we can ensure that this is
In
eligible.
case somebody
for funding.
asks us, is this
Yeah,
affordable
it
housing?
is-
It
it
sounds
is.
like it's not a problem
To
at all.
be state housing, it has to be Orton, but I can send it to you, Jamie, tomorrow.
Yeah,
Email
and
it.
while we're doing this, I just looked up
Oh, you're not here
the
tomorrow.
for the CPA law.
Oh, you know what? It's
um,
on our website,
Okay. Well,
our income limits.
yeah.
Great.
Send a link to Jamie, and she'll send the link to us, and we can look at it online. You don't have to do hard copies unless you want them, all right?
No, not at all.
I just got the
Website's
website
fine for
kind
me.
of put together.
Good for you.
Sweet.
It's up and running. At the meeting, I gave you the site. And everyone can go on. Now, my next step is to try to incorporate it, that when someone goes on the city of East Hampton, there can be a link that will say East Hampton Housing.
Just
and
to
they
talk to
can come.
Barry, don't you?
Huh?
Don't you have to just talk to our computer expert?
Your IT guy? Yeah, I'd have to do that.
Well, that's a good
It's on my
idea,
list.
because this first thing someone's gonna do is the city of East Hampton, pops up. What do they have for housing?
Mhm.
Bang, bang, bang. It's a lot easier.
Mhm.
And they just renovated that website, and it's a lot easier to navigate now.
Oh, good. Yeah, so.
So,
What do
You put
do
the-
I have to do anything from here? other than-
we're gonna put together, I was just about to ask Jamie to put together a draft project worksheet that she'll send to all of us and to you. If I understand the approval process, is the next cycle for us May 19th? Or is it,
Should be May 19th.
That's what I'm saying.
so if we approve it next month, we're in that cycle. I mean, it may not be, I think our next meeting is what, May 21st? What is our next meeting?
Which should be May 19th.
Should be May 19th.
So once,
Okay.
once we get approval,
Then it
Can I
goes to the
order
city,
them?
then it goes to the city
I can't
council.
order them. Okay.
City council. We're the first step.
This is city, you're not gonna
Okay,
have.
all right.
It's bureaucracy.
I'm learning.
It takes, this will be a fast one, but most of the time, these projects take months to get through.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Which is actually, you know, to your point earlier about having a pool of money for things like the ramps and so forth. If you see a future ongoing need,
Definitely.
then you get your application in now.
Okay.
You know, like this year, anticipating the next 2 years' worth of ramps that you're gonna need or
Yes.
something like that. We
could fund 10 ramps even if you don't build
If we end
them.
up approving it,
Right away.
it's done on
Oh,
a,
okay.
it's done on a
All right.
reimbursement
All right, that's good then.
basis, right? So, you know.
Oh, that's
it-
true.
So then you know, if you have a couple, I mean, because we have a number of balances that have been worked down over time. The money stays with the city until
Okay.
it's spent and then we reimburse
Okay.
it, so.
Yeah, so that would
if
be
that
an
grant were to be
ongoing, yeah.
approved, I mean, the
Okay.
process from your thinking really ought to be get the application in, procure the, you know, the funds from the
That'll be
city.
the next one.
The funds don't come to you for the ramps until you actually
Right.
need them, so you wanna have that
That's
line.
fine, because that's how it's been. It's been 1 week there's
But-
one, a month there's another,
But do you know if you
but
have
with more
funding
coming,
for-
we're gonna, I'd say we'll have 10 more in just this year.
Then you should request of us funding for 10 ramps.
Okay.
Or 15.
Right, I was gonna say, or 15.
Probably need 15 or 20.
And the
I mean, if
consideration
they're,
is, depending what development they're at, so that's what I'm saying, they could range from 3,000 up to 8,000, depending how much they need, where they're located, because the sites are different.
Then I would suggest you give us a budget for the cheapest one and a budget for the
Okay.
most expensive, and then we can determine, all right.
I can take pictures of the ones we've already put in and have paid for, which will show you like this size at this property.
And that
this is
helps
what
us
they
with
cost.
budgeting, that's
Okay.
perfect, okay?
And I think what you wanna do is just sort of substantiate the need. So
it's-
if you have, you know,
yes.
we installed, these are the dates that we installed these ramps. It looks like we are needing to replace these on a regular basis, X number per year. And we anticipate that going forward. That will really help us, I think.
We have looked into
Right,
like
Jane.
renting them, but if someone's still here 10 years from now, we've paid for that thing over and over and over by renting it, so it makes more sense to purchase them.
Uh,
Just to,
Plus afterwards.
Jamie has something to say?
It's already there, I mean,
from the state law, maintenance is not allowed, so I don't know.
Has to be a new ramp?
What do you mean
No,
maintenance?
CPA can't fund maintenance projects.
It's not a maintenance project,
Right.
you can't put them in, the maintenance can't put them in.
Well,
No,
no,
not
so I
work.
mean, so it has to be a capital improvement.
A ramp's not a capital?
And I think it is a capital improvement, but I heard someone say replaced, and if you're doing it like dribs and drabs.
No, there's nothing
So I just wanna
there.
just point out that the,
So-
that
well,
the
that's an
request.
interesting actually-
point. It's a
that the
fire
request-
suppression.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The
What about with
request-
these?
What do you, I'm not.
Safety issue, isn't it?
Well, these are, it's
But
not.
in 5 years,
I think maintenance contemplates, you know, keeping up something that's already there. This is something that's not there and that we're putting in.
Yeah,
And
and I
we're-
think we're
But in
talking.
5 years, then-
Oh, yeah,
right?
5 years coming back.
We
They're
have to,
they're
we have
stainless
to.
steel, they don't rot, they
Yeah.
don't, they're.
No, we're not
But
talking about
if
the
they were
ramps,
saying
now,
if
we're
they
talking about
expire in 5 years, so the
Fire
I'm
suppression.
talking about these.
Yeah, sorry, we're
I
going
never
for that,
talked about the
sorry.
ramps. I'm like,
If,
no, the
if
ramps.
they need to be regularly
Sorry.
maintained
Yeah.
every 5 years,
yes,
will
that's what
we
I'm
be,
saying, I
will we
think
be
that-
able to fund that? And I think that's a
Well,
We
so,
may-
so like this purchase, this time around, it would be,
capital
it's
improvement.
a capital improvement.
Talk about it in 5 years.
And in 5 years, it might still be a capital improvement.
Maybe we'll.
But maybe it wouldn't be, I don't know.
Wouldn't safety
It's a
overrule,
safety.
even maintenance, you're talking about safety issues?
Are we
No,
audited?
it's a-
Jamie, does the state audit our spending?
Every year we put in, on the state website, we put in all the projects that we fund.
So I'd like to see this. 5 years from now, we funded more fire suppression, and the state comes to take them out because we weren't supposed to do it.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just being sarcastic.
Oh.
I don't know, I don't have a problem if I have to fight the state over putting them back. Come on. We were talking about two things. In a
Okay,
capital
sorry, I
improvement,
thought you were at
the ramps, if it's a
Yeah.
brand-new ramp, it's
Yes,
capital
yes,
improvement.
it is.
If you're asking to replace the flooring on an existing ramp, that could be a problem.
No,
So it's new stuff, I think that's what Jamie was getting at.
I didn't know we were on.
But with
fire.
regard to this, the process will be, she's gonna give us a project funding worksheet. We're gonna approve it at the next meeting, I'm sure, unless somebody has a problem. And then it'll go to city council. So next meeting's in May. City council will get it at its first meeting in June. We'll send it to finance, and since I'm also the chair of the finance committee, it'll get on a public hearing for July, it'll be approved in July, because there's only one council meeting per month. So you gotta wait till July to get them. Now, I can say this, you probably can't spend the money, but I doubt there'd be anybody opposed to this. I mean, if they were willing to, everybody unanimously put in football field lighting, I don't see them saying no.
No fire suppression for low-income
Oh.
seniors.
Okay.
No, we're not gonna do that. We need the money for, I'm sorry. So unfortunately, that's the timing,
Okay,
because of government process. This is the beginning.
All right.
And then we have to approve it, but we need to do what we normally do for everybody. Project funding worksheet, make sure we know what we're, but you've already given us all the information.
okay.
And we will probably, is everybody in agreement to up this to 8,000?
Yeah, it's fine.
So you can buy as many as you
More.
can.
Okay.
So if you would put that in the worksheet, that we're upping the request to $8,000.
Can I ask you a question, just because I'm trying to learn different things with private housing, it's a little bit different in public housing, like this CPA funding. How do you get funded? Is it that the taxpayers pay a slightly higher tax and it goes into a fund and that's what's used for? Okay.
Based on
It's
property
called
tax.
It's matched by state funds.
And then that's matched by state funds.
Oh.
It's
so
a
like
real-
you collect
it-
200 from a tax homeowner, a property tax or something? Then you get 200.
It's
for the
3%.
city?
It's not one-to-one.
It's
Oh.
lower than that.
Used
They
to
match it
be.
some rate.
Okay.
So the way that, the city's tax rate's at 15.59%,
Mhm.
and of that, 3%, if there's a 3% of that basically gets put aside for CPA, but it also increases, it ends up raising the tax rate to like just under 16%. So it's like,
It's not actually a percent.
yeah, it's not, it's a percent of a percent, so it's, and then the state matches by a percent. So roughly, if you owned a $250,000 home, your CPA tax for the year would be about $65.
It's 3% of
Okay.
150, because isn't it the first 100,000 is
Right.
exempt of
Right.
property owners' property?
But it's not
so-
3% of the 150, it's 3% of the 15.59.
Okay, well, I don't know that.
Well, I just was trying
So I
to.
tried to figure this out, it's way too complicated, so.
Because I read something in the paper, and they were local towns or cities, and they were rejecting CPA. They didn't want it.
Well, because they're
Badly, they've lost
ignorant.
18%.
Sorry, if you don't realize what the CPA can do for you as a community, you really ought to go out and investigate it. If
Well,
you-
that's why I was asking you,
Can't
because I said
believe
it
it.
sounds like a good thing for the small amount.
Oh, my God,
to
you
put
look
in.
out the window, we wouldn't have that. I mean, there's so many things this city has.
The building, right?
We can't fund,
Two big projects from the
The
window.
window, one was at Riverside.
I mean, and there are affordable housing projects which are privately funded, but they ask for funds from us because they're affordable, they match
Oh,
state
okay.
law.
All right.
CPA can help with those, so.
Okay. As long, that's what you're talking about, as long as it's low, very low income.
Yeah, yeah, you have to go, it's whatever the state law indicates, I don't think you have a problem.
Yeah, so I did, it's low and moderate income, which the state defines as.
And you're gonna give us,
Moderate is 80 to 100% of, and then low being under 80.
But it does increase the tax load for homeowners. That's where this comes from. And that's why some communities have not approved it.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I thought, well, I'm here, I'm gonna ask how does it.
I pay $120 on my taxes for it's $35 a quarter.
That means you must have a nice house.
Yes. I mean, to me, it's nothing compared to what we get.
Yeah.
But you pay $10 a month just to have the boardwalk there.
No, I've already paid for that.
No, I'm saying, like, you know,
It's
you
worth
look at
it.
it like that, right?
I look at it as quality of life. If we can
Yeah.
improve the quality of life of our seniors living in affordable housing and our housing projects, if we can improve the quality of life by having a rail trail, a boardwalk, people will want to stay in East Hampton, more people stay in East Hampton, the economic development grows, things improve. That's what the CPA does, improves quality of life. And none of this would be funded given our budget. We can't pave the roads, that's a big complaint, everybody says, how come you're building a boardwalk and you haven't paved the roads? Well, unfortunately, that money can't be used for that, and the reason it's set aside is because we wouldn't get these projects built without CPA funding. It couldn't happen. You know, we're having trouble maintaining our schools and our budgets in other areas, so.
Well, thank you for the education, I know a little bit more, and,
Don't be afraid to ask us.
I Jamie a lot. But I think it's a nice community coming from Hoyoke. You from East Hampton probably think Hoyoke is all like ghetto and fires, which everyone has that, but it's not. There's nice areas too. But I always thought of East Hampton as Biker, Majestic Theater, and now that I've been here, I think it's a really nice community.
That place has been down for years.
Well, I'm 61,
It's still
so-
there.
I remember that, I never went though, but I remember hearing about it. And just being here and coming down and getting lunches for myself and everything, it's a really, really nice community. It's like a mini Northampton. So I am
Well,
trying
we're
to
better
find.
than Northampton.
Well, I'm
Compare
trying
us
to find
Northampton.
housing though, a small house.
You guys don't tend to do that. I mean, because I covered North.
With only 2 bedrooms, I only need a 4-room house. I have a house I can sell in Holyoke, but your prices are a little bit higher. than
Yes,
Holyoke.
Holyoke is suppressed
Yeah.
and ours aren't. Anyway,
No, so it's a
I'd
nice
like to
community.
conclude this discussion with asking you to come back to our next meeting in May, which will finalize our worksheet
Mhm.
and finalize, I'm sure, finalize this approval of this process of $8,000.
Okay.
Okay?
Can I just ask a question? When is the next round that I should have something in by? If we're talking about those ramps, what's the time?
You could have it in
frame
May,
you got?
then you'd,
So I get it in
Well,
for May?
We wouldn't approve it in May.
it wouldn't
But
be
it would be
approved in
presented.
May, it would probably get approved in July, and then you'd get it, the money by
You'd
So
have
the
to
next
send it
funding
by
cycle is
June
all-
2nd.
Okay, because I like putting in 3 ramps.
Right, so
Just in the next month.
on the bottom of the agenda, unless it's really.
Yeah, I see it,
complicated.
it says August 18th.
That's, yeah.
But
and
you
so
have to have
the-
it in by June 2nd to get the August 18th.
June is
vote.
when you need to
So,
get in.
2 months, yeah.
Is that, okay. So your deadline for the next cycle is June 2nd to get the application. You'd be approved in August, and probably a council approval would be in September.
Okay.
You know what you're gonna do over the weekend now.
No, she has till June 2nd.
But to get all these projects in.
Well, thank you again, it was nice meeting you all. And,
Whatever you
I
put
got the
together for the
thinking, if
worksheet
your
will be
wife's
fine
on
with
that,
me,
maybe
but
she
it's
could
something
post
similar,
something in
including
advance or
advertising,
whatever.
whatever.
She
whatever
loves
done.
talking to people before there's issues.
And
You
I
mean
don't
like when-
I'm
know
Yeah,
about
so
this other.
I'll let her
real
know
thing,
To
but
give
that I
me a-
met you.
If the committee doesn't need
Because
to
if I
do
put
it, I
that
don't
together,
want
she
to.
might be able to put something in
No,
this,
so it's, it is, you're
housing,
right, it was.
you know.
She could say like this, is yeah, this
It'd be a
is the
great
need,
idea,
yeah,
like
so,
the chief
Had
for
approved
the
the
fire
Yeah.
department did. That'd be great. Thank
yeah,
you.
nice meeting you.
Thank you all, nice
You're
meeting you,
welcome.
Jamie.
Thank you, Deborah.
And I'll see
See
you
you next
whenever.
week. Yeah. Talk to Tim tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye.
So, our final decision is, if I'm understanding our cycle, and I certainly agree we should have this cycle, the Pascomic Trust request won't get approved until the August, if they get their ducks in a row, because they haven't given us anything yet. And we can't approve it in our May 19th meeting, which is our decision. So am I right on that? They're gonna have to wait until August for approval.
Unless they came in on May 19th with
Yeah, and
better
the,
data.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have a worksheet or anything ready.
what the committee's done in the past, the quarters, the cycles are suggestions. You know, we're trying to make it consistent and easy for applicants to know what the process is, and
Mhm.
in this case, they submitted on time, but now, because of questions about what they're actually requesting,
Mhm.
they're gonna go beyond that May 19th date. But if the committee wants to approve it at, you know, the July meeting, because by July you feel that everything's been talked about, then, I mean, that's the committee's choice, and the committee has the discretion to fund outside of the cycle if they want to.
We have the prerogative to expedite certain
Right.
cases if need be, in other words.
Right.
I understand the cycle, but knowing how the council works, there's also another month or two, depending on when it is. If it's in the summer, it's 2 months, because there's only one meeting for council. I'd have no problem if we wanted to fund the trust project in June or July, rather than wait till August 18th. I understand this is a published thing, and it helps them get their act in a row, but I don't necessarily feel we need to delay a project, is my opinion. If they get their act in to us in May, say, they come with everything, and we put it together in June, or why not approve it? I don't have a problem with that. But it's up to the committee. I mean, I'd go either way. I hate to delay them if there's no reason to. I don't see if they've got everything we want, so.
Is there a reason why they're not here tonight?
I'm surprised they're not here.
I think-
Jamie told them.
Yeah, and I think the committee at the last meeting said, when you have something substantial, come back.
I don't think they're ready, because the
No, I
stuff
don't
they
think-
sent Jamie isn't anything new.
Yeah, it's inconsistent too, a little bit, the numbers.
Well, it looks like, did they go out?
Looks like we got quotes from engineering companies that we didn't have before.
These are the RFPs, right, the bridge analysis and the.
And these
But I don't think we have to-
these are not a formal RFP, they still have to formally RFP it.
Okay.
These are just, they got some ballpark quotes from these engineers, but they're not the final, they haven't RFP'd it yet, so those numbers aren't final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their timeline may be a little ambitious.
Well,
Not necessarily for us, but just in.
Oh,
you
this
know,
timeline right here?
My hope is that they could adhere to their timeline, but even when they came in last meeting, I was skeptical that they'd be able to get it done this year.
They don't have engineering going on both June, July, so not too far off.
if their funding requires, if they have other grant funding, Do I recall, does the CPA funding need to be in place before they can access the grant funding they have in other areas?
No, I don't think it was conditioned on it.
There's no
I think they've-
conditions?
I think they've got a grant from DCR.
So they could do the
Mass
engineering
Is it a
studies.
standalone though, or didn't they have some matching requirements?
DCR. That wasn't my recollection, but I couldn't be certain.
Okay. I just think this budget is really low, 86,000 for the whole thing. Anyway, it's not our job, we can tell them when the meetings are, and we told them what we needed, a little more information, I think that's the best we can do, right? Who's, anybody associated with Sonic Trust on this committee? Council, you are?
Lady lives right in the back of my, on Montauk Avenue, Suzie Walls, I know really well.
Well, if you can ask them, you know, because I hate to delay them, it's a good project, but we can't work until we get
Matter of fact,
information.
she told me, did she email you about the CPA signs going on Mother Avenue, on Mother Street? No, you didn't get any information?
On
She told me
Mother-
they put signs out there saying it's funded by the CPA, so I thought that was pretty good.
Are they permanent or just temporary?
Permanent, I guess,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Are we talking about the
Hey.
Green Street?
Yeah, one on East Green Street, and they're gonna pull one up on East Street too eventually. You know where they're doing all that construction up there?
So Harry, you're gonna take a picture of it and send it to us. Do you have a phone that does that? I have one, I do.
Well, she told me that she was gonna call, email you. I even gave her your email address. I says, cause she said to me, she says, well, yeah, we got signs out there. I said, well, look, I said, well, let everybody know. I says, contact Jamie, you know, and I gave her your email address, and then you can turn around and tell the whole board about it, and apparently she never did.
Well, it'd be good, we can get it in our annual report.
Yeah, you know.
All right, well, that's good. So, Harry, if you can do anything to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I can email her tonight.
I mean,
tell her
I
what's going
mean-
on. Because she knows Bader really well, I mean, you know.
Yeah, and I can also, can talk to John and see what his,
Yeah.
Is there any other business we need to deal with, guys? Anything? Could I have a motion to adjourn then?
Make that motion?
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting, May 19th. We should be able to approve this. Thank you, Jamie, for your hard work.
are we still recording?
Oh, yes, I'm gonna turn it off right now. No, I didn't get